Hi, and welcome to your delivery driver onboarding training video. My name is Brian Marblestone. I'm with 9 Point Strategies, and I'm here to help walk you through the process. Throughout this training video, we're going to discuss why delivery driver documentation is so vitally important. We'll talk about the steps for documenting a new delivery driver, and we'll talk about how to utilize the services that we provide to help ensure that you are always in compliance, meaning current information on file for all drivers at all times. I'm going to share my screen to help illustrate some of the points. Let's talk about the exposure. Anytime we've got employees using their own vehicle to deliver product on behalf of a business, this presents a huge exposure to the business itself. The business shares liability or responsibility for bodily injury or property damage caused by the delivery driver while on company time. Hired and non-owned auto liability is the type of policy purchased to protect against this exposure. Now, in the hired and non-owned auto policy, there's a conditions of coverage clause, which specifically states that the business will check, monitor, and keep track of certain pieces of delivery driver documentation, or what I like to call triple D. So the conditions of coverage form requires that we check each driver's driving history via a motor vehicle report, or MVR, prior to hire and at least every 6 months after hire. We need to make sure that that MVR qualifies under a set list of guidelines, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail in just a moment. In addition, we need to make sure that we are not allowing any driver to operate a vehicle on behalf of the business unless we've been provided with proof of a valid driver's license and a current personal auto insurance ID card for the vehicle being used to deliver. In addition, from a best practices standpoint, we need to administer driver safety training. We've got to inspect the vehicle being used for delivery to ensure that that vehicle has safe operating functions. And we've got to have a written agreement in place with the delivery driver to ensure that they understand the terms and conditions of their employment and authorize us to run motor vehicle reports on their behalf. So as you can see, there are a variety of items that we need to keep track of for each and every delivery driver. When you multiply that by the amount of delivery drivers, you understand the depth and the breadth of the compliance involved. Here's the good news. We've developed the solution to help keep you in compliance using proprietary technology and best practices material. Allow me to explain. I first like to share with you the delivery driver packet. This delivery driver packet is your friend and will be your saving grace in the case of an accident. At the top of the page, you'll find whether this is a new driver packet or a current driver update, the 3 options to get us the completed information, and some basic information about who's submitting this packet to us so that we can apply it to the right account. Here, we want to know where you want the approvals to go to. And then at the bottom, we've got a refresher on what exactly the components of a completed driver packet are. As we move through, you see we've got the delivery driver agreement where the driver agrees to some parameters as a condition of their employment with the company. We've got the motor vehicle report release and authorization. This is their private information. We want to make sure that they're giving us the authority to pull that information. And then finally, we've got our vehicle inspection form. So that's the driver packet, folks. And now let's talk about, we got a new driver or prospective new driver. We want to see if we can hire that person. Before we even get to the prospective employee, my recommendation is in your job ad, put in the footer or in the job description a requirement that the prospective employee bring a copy of their motor vehicle report with them to the interview. This is the first step in documenting a new driver. We've got to obtain that motor vehicle report. So if we ask the driver to bring it into the interview and they do that, we can see that they follow instruction number 1. Okay, so we've got to get a copy of that motor vehicle report. You can ask the driver to get it themselves, or you can pull motor vehicle reports using a variety of third-party vendors. A quick Google search will pull up many vendors who will run motor vehicle reports once you set up an account. And as an employer in the state of California, you have the ability to pull motor vehicle reports for prospective and current employees. Once we've got the motor vehicle report, we need to make sure that it qualifies under a set list of guidelines like we talked about. So the motor vehicle report's got to be ran within the last 30 days, okay? We want a current motor vehicle report, not one from a year ago. We've got to make sure that there are no major violations on the motor vehicle report in the last 5 years. Major violation would be DUI, DWI, reckless driving, speed contest, those types of things. In addition, we have limited minor violations in the last 3 years. So that means no more than 2 moving violations and 1 at-fault accident in the last 3 years. Do we expect you to memorize this stuff? No. That's why we've created the driver requirements form here, which we recommend keeping in a public area or somewhere that you can easily reference to determine whether or not the motor vehicle report of a given prospective driver is approvable or not. Once we've verified the motor vehicle report, the next step is to gather a copy of their personal insurance ID card, completed driver packet, put it all in one nice packet for us, and send it over to our driver compliance team. You can do that via multiple different avenues: email, upload, or fax. We have 2 full-time driver coordinators who are monitoring the inbox and will upload the information to our Strattrax web portal to be able to help monitor the information. And again, once they're uploaded into our website, technology takes over. So I mentioned Strattrax. Allow me to introduce you to Strattrax Driver Compliance. Strattrax is a proprietary technology that we designed for the delivery industry. This web-based platform allows for paperless storage of all driver documentation. It provides weekly driver status reports. And the most important part, you'll start to receive proactive notifications prior to the expiration of driver's licenses and insurance ID cards. Once a driver is uploaded into Strattrax, the system starts to track their information, and prior to the expiration of a personal insurance ID card or driver's license, store managers or those designated to receive the notifications will receive multiple email notifications. These notifications will go out at 14 days, 7 days, and 1 day prior to the expiration of a given item. Upon receipt of these notifications, you should contact the driver and ask for proof of updated current information. That's as simple as taking a picture of the current insurance ID card or driver's license with your smartphone and emailing it on over to us. Once received by our team, the system gets updated within 1 to 2 business days, and notifications will cease until prior to the next expiration date. Now, if an update is not received, a driver denial notification will be issued. What this means is we do not have physical proof that the driver's documentation is in order, and until we get that information, we recommend pulling them off the road. Let me be clear here. Strattrax is not the end-all, be-all determination of coverage. Just because a driver is listed as denied in our system doesn't necessarily mean that they're not covered. They very well could have current personal insurance or driver's license, but we don't have record of it. The bottom line is that gray area is unacceptable. We need to have it in black and white. We can't take the driver's word for it that they've got current insurance or they've got a current driver's license and it's all okay. No, we want it in black and white. And on the other hand, if a driver is listed as accepted in our system, you know for certain that all their information is current and it's on file and they're going to be covered in the case of an accident. So how can we check a driver's status in real time? Well, you log on to www.strattrax.com. You enter your login information and it takes you here to our homepage. It's our sample homepage, but as you can see, you've got a overview of all your drivers, any recent activity that's happened. And if you go in and click on an individual driver, you'll be able to get some more detail about their driver's license number, their date of birth, their insurance information. And in the attachment section is that paperless storage of all driver data like we talked about. Going back to the overview page, if you ever need to run an on-demand driver status report, you'll get this by simply clicking on that link there, opening the driver status report, and here you go. A list of all your drivers, their insurance expiration, their driver's license expiration, and whether or not they're approved, and if they're not approved, why they're not approved. Now, if a driver's ever in a pending status here, P, we go into Strattrax.com, we look up the driver, we go to Julie Durr here, we'll click on Julie, and voila. If they're in a pending status, our driver compliance team will make a note in Strattrax as to why they are pending. For this specific driver, didn't get a copy of their MVR, right? So they're pending until we get a copy of their MVR. Finally, if you have multiple locations and you just want to look at one of the locations, you can hit the drop down here at the top right section to filter just down to that location, and you'll see the status report of all those drivers at that location. Now, what happens if a driver is no longer with us? We don't want to be getting reports on that driver. So what we've done is we have the ability to archive a driver in Strattrax. This means that notifications will cease and they won't show up in any other reports. If the driver comes back and wants to get put back on the schedule, all we need is updated Triple D, and we can make that driver live again. So there you have it, folks. As you can see, there is a lot that goes into driver compliance. It's a constant battle and somewhat of a moving target, but it's one that we help you with and one that's very important to stay in front of. Our driver compliance process allows you to operate a best practices driver compliance system. Our driver compliance team is always available. If you have any runoff questions or rush requests, they can be reached at 650-508-0124, extension 236. Please call anytime. We're happy to hear from you. So that's it. Thanks for watching the driver onboarding video. We appreciate your time. And remember, when it comes to driver compliance, nothing is complete until it's documented. Thanks again, and be safe out there.